Welcome back to Inside the System. I'm Jasmine Logan, and I'm joined by Emeritus Political Science Professor Dr. David Kernervo. Today we'll be covering the most recent news in American politics relating to the vice presidential debate, so stay tuned. On Tuesday night, Senator J.D. Vance and Governor Tim Walz went head-to-head in what could be the last debate until the November election. Brian Abel is bringing us the highlights from New York.
The running mates, taking center stage for the only vice presidential debate, quickly addressing foreign policy following Iran's attack on Israel just hours earlier.
It's those that were closest to Donald Trump that understand how dangerous he is when the world is this dangerous.
For people to fear the United States, you needed peace through strength. They needed to recognize that if they got out of line, the United States global leadership would put stability and peace back in the world.
Democratic Governor Tim Walz and Republican Senator J.D. Vance clashing on immigration.
Donald Trump had 4 years. He had 4 years to do this, and he promised you, America, how easy it would be.
And the economy.
If Kamala Harris has such great plans for how to address middle-class problems, then she ought to do them now. Not when asking for a promotion, but in the job the American people gave her 3.5 years ago.
Walz struggling when confronted about his claim of being present for the deadly Tiananmen Square protest.
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke.
And Vance deflecting when asked about Trump's false claims that he won the 2020 election.
He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
In New York, Brian Abel reporting.
So Dr. Kernervo, did you have a chance to watch the debate this Tuesday?
I did. I enjoyed it. And I must say I was surprised by a couple of things. Number one, that they were civil to each other. It's the first debate I had seen in a while which people actually acted like they were normal civil people.
Yeah.
And secondly, they actually said they agreed with each other on a couple of things. So that was surprising as well.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything of note that you noticed from the debate on Tuesday?
Well, there were a couple of things that I thought were at least a little strange. I won't use the word weird this time, so I don't want to show favoritism toward Walz. But I thought it was a little unusual that J.D. Vance was so quiet and normal and moderate on the one hand, but also, though, that he seemed to say that Trump was responsible for saving Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, when in fact, of course, Trump had tried to kill it a couple times.
Definitely.
And so I thought that was a little unusual. And of course, the end where Walz had gotten Vance to respond whether or not Trump had won the election. And of course, he refused to say that.
Exactly. That's a very interesting situation, in my opinion. Why wouldn't he give a straight answer one way or the other on his opinion about the 2020 election?
Well, I think it's because, of course, Trump for 4 years now has doubled down on the fact that it was stolen, that he had won it. And even when Trump himself said that he had lost it, and he was asked about that later, he said, oh, he was just kidding, that he didn't mean it. And so I think Vance, wanting to stay on Trump's good side, refused to answer it. He didn't want to lie, apparently, but at least about that. But he didn't want to get on Trump's bad side by saying that, of course, Trump had lost it.
In my opinion, though, not answering the question is not a good look either. I mean, both sides have attacked candidate Kamala Harris and Donald Trump about if either of them are elected, it's going to be the end of democracy, which is a very hefty statement to make. However, the situation that happened January 6th, it was a very serious situation after President Biden won.
Sure, for police officers to be beaten and to some of them died later as a result of the insurrection, and I think it was an insurrection. That not to answer that, I think, does show, as you said, some inappropriate responses on Vance's side. Again, Trump has told so many non-truths that Vance feels he needs to participate in that, unfortunately. And he tried to avoid it by just simply not answering. But you're right, it does stand out as something which does not make Vance look good to at least people who have not bought into the election being stolen.
100%. I mean, undermining our electoral process in that way inherently undermines our democracy.
Yes. Yes.
That is concerning.
Well, it is. And, you know, he said early on that had he been Pence, he would have done what Trump wanted Pence to do, and that is to not accept and certify the electoral votes and instead force it to go to the House of Representatives where Trump would have won. And so that's a little scary to have a potential vice president say up front that he would have done exactly what he was told by the president, even though it was illegal.
100%. I mean, I feel like that says something about the integrity of a person who would be willing to do that.
Sure. Particularly a lawyer. He is a Yale Law School graduate, and yet he's willing to certainly bend the truth a great deal in order to please his boss.
One of the things that I noticed from the debate was J.D. Vance repeatedly made criticisms towards Harris, specifically blaming her for the state of the economy. How much validity is there to those criticisms?
Well, unfortunately, one of the things that Harris has been charged with over the last 2 or 3 months of the debate, or the campaign rather, is that she had 4 years, or has had 3.5 years to impose or carry out her plans. Why didn't she do it? And what no one has said, unfortunately, is that vice presidents don't set the agenda.
100%.
Presidents do. And vice presidents are expected to go along with what the president wants to do. Biden came into office with plans to get the economy going again after the pandemic, to get the infrastructure bill through, to get the climate change bill through, and he did that. Those were major pieces of legislation which took a lot, and to try to then squeeze in these other major proposals that were and are what Harris supports are things that simply don't to fit in with what the time they had and with what Harris's boss wanted to do.
Very true. I think some people forget that fact. This is Biden's administration. It's not Harris's administration. She is, in a sense, his right-hand man, but they're going along with his agenda and his vision.
That's right. Exactly right. And she may have her chance beginning in January to get past what she has talked about in the campaign. But at the same time, to say that she's had 3.5 years to do it really is not being honest.
Very true. And there's a lot more about that debate that we can get into, but we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back after this to tackle some more.
As you progress in your semester, you might find your workload becoming overwhelming. The Learning Resource Center is a great asset we have here on campus that is always here to help. Located in the Marks Building, room 124, the center aims to help you succeed in any area of study with one-on-one peer tutoring and so much more. Come by and see them or contact them for more information at 221-6550. That's 221-6550, a campus reminder from APSU-TV.
College life can be challenging, but everyone at Austin Peay should have access to success no matter what the obstacles. Whether it's workshops, support, or just someone to talk to, the Student Disability Resource Center is there to help students overcome their challenges and experience college life to the fullest. Don't go it alone. The Student Disability Resource Center is there to help you. You'll find the center in room 114 in the Morgan UC, or call them at 221-7777. 221-7777. A campus reminder from APSU-TV.
Foreign policy was a major topic of discussion during the debate, specifically the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. In fact, we're going to look at the most recent war updates in Israel. Michael Yoshida reports from Washington, D.C. with the latest.
Bombs and sirens could be heard throughout Israel Tuesday. In Tel Aviv, the starry night filled with what resembled to be shooting stars were actually some of about 200 ballistic missiles, according to the Pentagon, sent from Iran, who says it focused on Israeli security and military targets.
Based on what we know now, the attack appears to have been defeated and ineffective.
The attack, not surprising. This all comes after Israel's launch of a ground operation in southern Lebanon, targeting Iran-backed Hezbollah, and Israel assassinating Hezbollah's leader, Hassan Nasrallah, in a strike in Beirut on Friday. Israeli airstrikes in Lebanon have killed at least 7 high-ranking Hezbollah officials in recent weeks. Tuesday's attack sharply rebuked by the U.S.
This is totally unacceptable, and the entire world should condemn it.
We call on Iran to halt any further attacks, including from its proxy forces. During the attack, the U.S. military coordinated closely with the Israeli Defense Forces to help defend Israel.
Iran's president posted a warning on social media platform X on Tuesday saying, quote, "This action was in defense of the interests and citizens of Iran, to let Netanyahu know that Iran is not belligerent, but it stands firmly against any threat. Do not enter into a conflict with Iran." The attack garnered a response from Israel to Iran. It too had a warning.
Iran made a big mistake tonight, and it will pay for it.
In Washington, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
Statistics show that Americans are split on how the Biden administration is handling the war in Israel. According to the Pew Research Center, 34% of people are against sending military aid to Israel, and 50% of people are in support of sending humanitarian aid to the Palestinians in Gaza. Dr. Carnervo, could public opinion about how the Biden administration is handling these foreign affairs potentially affect this upcoming election cycle?
Well, normally, foreign affairs does not have much of an impact on presidential elections. A very small percentage of people really care about that deeply. They are really more concerned about their pocketbook issues and things that affect them immediately and directly. But in this case, there are, of course, people living in the United States who are of Arabic Islamic faith, and those people care a good deal. they were involved in some of the demonstrations this past summer, as well as some of the students, some of whom were Arab, I suspect, and some who were not, who were concerned about the fact that Israel had gone so far into Gaza. I mean, so far both geographically, but also in terms of military strength and might, and how badly they bombed and destroyed Gaza. A lot of people are concerned about that, thinking that they had overdone it.
For sure.
And the fact that we supported that, or at least gave them the weapons, or most of the weapons that they used, certainly implicates us to some extent. We believe that Israel has the right to defend themselves, as any country does. But we also tend to believe that responses to attack ought to be proportionate, that it should not be overwhelming. If we get our finger stuck, we shouldn't cut off somebody's arm in response.
Definitely.
And so that bothers, I think, a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Michigan, which is a swing state, an important swing state, because it has a good number of electoral votes, mm-hmm. has also a fairly sizable Arab population. And those folks are citizens, and they're going to vote.
Definitely.
And so that's going to have an impact one way or another. And it's also true, of course, that there are a number of people in the Trump movement who believe that we should be more isolationist, that let the world go on around us without us being involved so much, mm-hmm. so that it won't affect us, we think.
Well, that's the same reasoning we had for World War II.
Yes, well, and you know, right after World War I, we became isolationist again, and mm-hmm. we saw what happened in Europe.
100%.
And so we're trying to prevent that from happening again, trying to exercise some influence to keep things from getting out of hand. Mm-hmm. But there are those who believe that somehow the world will go on and do its wars and its killing without us, and that we won't have to be affected one way or another. Mm-hmm. And that's unfortunate, but it's just simply not going to happen. And so the bottom line is, I think that Donald Trump could receive more votes because of the Middle Eastern war. Mm-hmm. As he has said several times during the campaign, of course, the Arab-Israeli war started after he left office. It's just been a year. It's October last year, but nevertheless, it happened when he was not president, and so it's the Democrats' fault.
100%. He has made it a talking point several times, along with the war between Russia and Ukraine, even going as far as to say that if he was in office during this time, these wars wouldn't have happened.
Yes, and if he wins, he'll take care of it and solve it before he's inaugurated.
Exactly.
And so, but we'll see about that if he wins, if you know what he actually does. My guess is he will say to Putin, "Do what you wish," and then cut off aid to Ukraine so that they cannot respond very well and very strongly. So, in sum, it is a matter that this could affect certainly enough votes in those very tight swing states, mm-hmm. Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, that really Harris needs to win. Well, they each need to win it, but Harris needs to win them if she hopes to win the election.
Definitely. It's undeniable that there are Americans that are tuned into what's going on in Israel. I mean, apps like Instagram and TikTok make real-time footage accessible much more easily today than several years ago. It makes it easier to get tapped into what's going on all the way across the world, and I feel like it's happening here. Right. People do care, and there have been pro-Palestinian efforts and protests at different universities in the U.S. thus far. some people are even referring to what's happening over there as a mass genocide. And whether that's true or not, if that's public opinion, that does reflect badly on not only the Biden administration, but anyone connected to the decisions that he's making regarding Israel and Palestine in this war. And that could hurt Harris in this election.
Sure. And of course, there were at least one or two Americans who were killed or captured and taken hostage in Israel as well. I think there was one killed and one or two hostages taken.
I believe I heard about some journalists.
So it does touch us directly in this country, and it's a problem which is going to affect certainly people who are familiar with those who were directly affected.
Definitely. We're going to switch gears a little bit because there's still so much with that debate to unpack. So Governor Tim Walz, he referenced Project 2025 during the VP debate on Tuesday. He referenced this in regard to Donald Trump, saying that if he were to be elected, he would put this into place. And Donald Trump has denied any sort of association with Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation. But regardless, can you kind of explain to us what Project 2025 is about?
Well, as I understand 2025, what it does is number one, give the president much more power. It supposedly allows the president to make decisions regarding policy matters without Congress needing to be involved. Secondly, it involves really turning over a large number of people in the bureaucracy. These are people who are career bureaucrats who spend most of their lives working in the Department of Energy or Department of State or wherever. These are people who don't change out with elections, but are rather, as I say, civil servants and career people. Well, under 2025, the plan is to get rid of these people. And I'm not quite sure how that's going to happen legally, but nevertheless, that's the plan. And then to bring in people who have been, quote unquote, MAGA trained, trained by the Trump people to come into office, take those positions. And of course, the expectation is that they will do only what Trump wants them to do. And so that's part of the way that Trump would be able to exercise more power. He would have a bureaucracy which is theoretically totally compliant, totally willing to do whatever he says, kind of like Vice President Vance, if he were to win. And instead of a bureaucrat who may be a holdover and may have quite different ethics. And so that's part of it. A third part of 2025 is that, as I understand it, there's going to be some monitoring of women's pregnancies, that there will be state data collected on them and compiled, and that there'll be some attempt to monitor these women so that they don't get abortions.
Wow.
And that's really pretty scary, because that kind of monitoring of individuals in this country is not something that we have done, at least certainly on any large scale. We do it, of course, with prisoners, those who are under the justice system, to keep track of parolees and people just released from prison for a while, those sorts of things, people facing charges. But to do this for half the population, gender, of women,
I mean,
that's pretty astounding.
Yeah, I find that very concerning. I mean, our government taking the steps potentially, if this project were you put into place, to monitor women's health care and control it like that? I mean, I doubt they would stop with women's health care. What else are they going to monitor and control when it comes to the people of America? I find that very concerning. It sounds like it could change our complete system when it comes to our government and our democracy.
Sure. Yeah, it certainly does threaten the right to privacy a great deal.
For
it
sure.
seems to me.
So we'll have to get into that more some other time, but for now we're going to take another quick break and we'll be back after this to talk about the election.
My Shiro doesn't always wear a cape, but she always has time for a hug, a smile, for going the extra mile. My Shiro stretches every dollar, puts in long hours, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. When you're ready to retire, we want you to be able to enjoy it. It's time to start saving now. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro.
Monitored is ridiculous.
Yeah. Welcome back. For the last few minutes of our show, Dr. Cornovo and I will be talking a little bit about the voting process. Dr. Cornovo, what scenario would someone need to fill out an absentee ballot?
Well, in the state of Tennessee, the requirement is for people to write a letter to their home county, to the election board or the election administrator in that county, and request an absentee ballot. And it will be mailed then to them by the election commission in their county for them to fill out once they receive it.
Nice.
They have to do it, I think the cutoff is about 5 days before the election, which is cutting it very close, given the time of mail to move from one place to another today. So that's very late to do it. It's something that really needs to be done now if you're going to do it.
Definitely.
And of course, the student population here at Austin Peay and people who may work here in Clarksville or live here, but really have their home and be registered to vote somewhere else, really need to consider what they're going to do.
Definitely. That would be a convenient way to vote if they're not able to go on election day. And early voting is also an option for some people. Do you recall when early voting is available?
I think it is around the 15th of October is when it starts, somewhere within a day or two of that, I believe.
Yes, it's about a 2-week period from like the 15th or 16th of October to the 31st of October.
Right.
For those who need it.
And of course, it is available on Saturdays. And so students who live here would need to go home and then vote on that Saturday.
Definitely. And for those who are going to be voting in this election, what type of identification do they need to bring with them to make sure they can vote?
Well, when I go vote, I'm always asked for my driver's license.
Okay.
I suspect just simply so that they can call it up, because I don't know that a formal ID is required, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to bring driver's license. If you don't have one, bring a passport or some other fairly official ID.
For sure, and you have to bring
school IDs do not work.
They do not work.
No.
Okay, school IDs do not work if you're going to vote, so keep that in mind for our college students.
Has to be Austin Peay is a government agency, of course, but nevertheless, it's not counted as a government ID.
Understood. Can you explain to our audience, just real quick, why you think voting is important?
Well, unlike old people like me, those of you like you and other college students have a long time ahead of them, we hope. And we have things like global warming, differences certainly in this election between Trump and Harris. They are very strong differences, and you need to pick a side and decide what you want for your future and make a decision and vote.
Definitely. I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, hopefully some of you first-time voters out there found that helpful. And for those of you who have not yet registered but do want to vote, it's not too late. You have until Monday, October 7th to register in time for this election. And you can do so online at Go Vote Tennessee. And that's all the time we got for you guys today. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Inside the System. See you next time.